Hello, welcome to Co-Creating with Cosmic Holly. I'm Holly, and today I am talking about the Sagittarius New Moon happening December 19th, 2025 at 8:43 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get into the energy of this particular moon, I want to just talk a little bit about the history and why I like to focus on the moon. So, my work with the moon cycles started in the 90s when I was studying indigenous cultures and um, participating in different rituals that sometimes required me to do different things based on my moon cycle. And I had a teacher who basically showed me that ancient cultures, women used to be connected to the moon. So our menstrual cycles were called the moon time. And my moon time did not match up with the moon. I lived in New York City. So that was another reason for focusing on the moon because it was the only planet I could see in the sky very often. There's a lot of light pollution, a lot of pollution in general. I could see the moon, I could see the sun, occasionally other stars and planets. So I set out to regulate my moon cycles because they weren't regular. My cycle was not a 28-day cycle. It was like a 35-day cycle or a 39-day cycle. So I did that. I set the intention to uh, connect with the moon. And eventually, I was able to regulate my cycles to that of the moon. And that became very empowering for a number of reasons. I mean, knowing like peak fertility is really important, really important. Um, and being able to use that energy, um, peak fertility moments, moments of rest and of quiet and of in moments of empowerment um, are very important. They were really important for me as a performer too, because if I knew that I was going to be on my moon time, on my menstrual cycle, I might not book a gig during that time, or I would, depending on what kind of energy I wanted to put out into the world. So that was the first thing, and that was also my introduction into expanding my study of astrology. So I was fascinated by, well, first of all, I was just fascinated by that cycle. I started studying astrology probably in the 70s when I was just learning how to read. It was like the first book I read about astrology was Linda Goodman's Sun Signs, and I was like 8 or 9 years old. And then just studying more and more and more about the moon as it applied to me practically opened me up to then using the moon's energy for manifestation, for magic, basically. And for me, mostly, I have found that magic is very practical. In the 90s and the early 2000s, I was in a group called the Circle of Soul, and we were a ritual performance group. And every month, twice a month at least, we would do performances based on the new moon and the full moon. And we would get people to um, we would perform, and then the people who would come to watch would become participants in these rituals. And it was always we based it on the new moon or the full moon and the zodiac that went with. So that started to expand things. We also did cross-quarter holidays like the solstice, and even the holidays in between those. So like every 6 week increments. So the wheel of the year, the wheel of the seasons, plus the midpoints of each season. And so that leads me to now. Today, December 19th, we have this new moon in Sagittarius. And on the 21st, we also have the solstice. So I might do another video with tarot cards on the solstice. So, like I said, December 19th, 2025, 8:43 p.m. Eastern, we have the moon at 28 degrees Sagittarius, which means the sun is also there. Coming up behind them is Venus at 24 degrees Sagittarius, and we also have Mercury at 10 degrees Sagittarius. I'm going to focus mainly, like, sometimes I talk about other things going on astrologically, and there's a lot going on. But the moon is quite a chunky bit to work with. So that's where my focus is, because like we can look at it at weekly increments, and it's something that, the moon affects us. It can affect, it affects the earth, it affects the tides, it affects, we are made of mostly water. And so physically we're affected. The moon is connected to water and our moods and our emotions. So it's like, let's look at this. On a practical level, if we take the time around the new moon to look at what our goals are, to assess, as we move through the cycle, to assess what it is we are doing to be working toward our goals, and maybe even what opportunities we have as we work toward our goals. When we make decisions and we put those decisions out there to the world, it's like things start to fall into place. And as we observe, we create change. As we take action, we create change. So sometimes when I say, hey, what's your intention? It might be, you might have like one intention, but each month we're looking at that intention from a different angle, right? Because each zodiac sign has a different vibe, right? So right now we've got Sagittarius, which is about the grand journey, right? Is adventuring, is storytelling, is, inquiry, is interested in the process, in the experience, as opposed to like is interested in the journey as opposed to the final destination, right? There's a lot of play, I think, with Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the philosopher, and if Sagittarius cannot travel, they will travel deeply with the mind. There's education. Like I said, they're the storyteller and the traveler. They're hardworking and madcap at the same time. So there's a lot of like practical joking going on, or like there's a sense of humor about Sagittarius. Some famous Sagittarians, when we say like, Emily Dickinson is a Sagittarius. She did not really travel because she was a woman in in her time in the late 1800s. But then we also have, William Blake, who was a storyteller and an artist and, out there in the world. Mark Twain, out there in the world, right? Other storytellers, Jane Austen, Louisa May Alcott, famous musicians, Beethoven, Jimi Hendrix, probably one of the most, famous Sagittarius of our time. A real, like, there's some trickster energy there too. I want to read this little bit that Caroline Casey, in her book Making the Gods Work for You, this book that I'm always talking about, has to say, Sagittarius is a life energy in all of us that is devoted to diversity. So cultural diversity. Sagittarius loves checking out other cultures, right? Ideally, Sagittarius expresses a consciousness that asks questions of and is willing to learn from anything or anyone as long as they are smart. Right? They can be a little bit like no patience with people who aren't smart. Sagittarians fight to preserve culture, its history, its laws and systems, whether man-made lawyers or cosmic philosophers. Right? They're always at work to find the fundamental principles, ways of organizing information they have accumulated into meaning, and ways to turn that information into wisdom and guidance. Sagittarius is about wisdom. Sagittarius is about the long arcing goal, which is, how can I deepen? We have Scorpio, which is like, how can we go deep? And this is like, how can we expand that depth throughout humanity? So that is the energy of this new moon. And then we also have Venus coming up. Okay, and the moon is, like I said, our moons. Venus is, what do we value? How are you valued? What do you love? What makes you feel loved? What is, sensual and beautiful to you? But really, it's like, what do a way to check this out is, what do you spend your money on? That'll tell you what you value, right? What makes you feel wonderful and beautiful. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but I'm noticing this as I'm shuffling. I was uh, smudging the cards, and I usually do this little smudge when I start the video, and I didn't do that this time. But before the video, I was smudging these cards, and I got some black soot on my fingers. So if you're going, why is her fingers dirty? That's why. Um, so the other thing I want to say about the new moon is, I said the new moon is the dark of it's dark. It's the dark of the moon. This is kind of when anything is possible. And I talk about, setting your intentions at the new moon. Usually, I actually like to put my intentions out there. Like, I might sit quietly during the new moon and write down my intentions, just let them sit for a day or two. And then as the moon starts to wax, as you start to see the sliver come in the sky, like the next day, or even a few hours later, that's when I will speak them out loud. That's when I'll really like put them, be like, hi moon, I wrote this down. I am now saying it. And I might even do a little ritual depending on the element that the moon is in, or basically just like, what is it that the moon would like, with the energy of the zodiac. So, for Sagittarius, I might speak my intentions and then burn them, or I might light a candle and speak the intentions. And I might, take my intentions and tell them to the cosmos like they're a story. Like, once upon a time, this person did blah, blah, blah. Or however the story, however I'd want, I'd turn it into an adventure. Like, how can I make these intentions an adventure, right? I usually do 10 intentions. It doesn't have to be 10. And sometimes they are like 10 intentions focused on the same goal. So I'm a Sagittarius rising, and Sages tend to have more than one way of expressing themselves. So like, let's go back to William Blake. He was a poet and a painter. Um, I might do something in more than one way. Or I have more than one intention or more than one goal because I have like, six or eight, or I have many passions, right? I'm a painter. I'm into astrology. I'm into tarot. I'm a performer. I'm a musician. I'm a singer. I'm a writer. So there's a lot. I'm creative, and I'm really into adventure. Like I love mountain biking. I love hiking. I love being outside. That's something too. Sag likes to move and be outside, and so maybe you go out for a walk and speak your intentions out loud, or for a run, or for something that feels like an adventure, a hike to the top of the mountain and sing your adventures out into the air. So one card has jumped out, and we're going to do one more. And also, when I do these cards, it's not necessarily like it's like, yeah, this might be the vibe of this time. It's also like, what if I look at this energy from the angle of Sagittarius and the angle of these cards, so that I have a focus that I can like observe through this backbone of this plot line that lets me have a story, lets me tell a story and really look at the world in a way that's like outside of myself while I'm in it. If that makes any sense. Okay, one more. I got one, and I could just be one. Maybe I'll let it here. I'm going to talk about this first, and then maybe I'll just pull another one. So we have the Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles during the new moon. I mean, this is like inspiration, whatever it is that there's something that's going to come to you. And it's like an idea or a feeling or an opportunity that is going to expand your sense of well-being. It's going to expand your capacity to receive. It's going to get you in nature. Funny, I'm talking about moon cycles when we first started, and here we have a rabbit, which is connected to fertility, and then this wheel. This is actually the coins, right? But it looks like the wheel with the four directions, and then you can also call them the cross-color holidays, right? So this is a cycle of manifestation. This is a cycle of increasing. There's a chance to increase your well-being, your wealth, and or your health and pleasure right here on the planet. That's the energy that's going on right now. Take it, and enjoy it. Let me see. Oh, one more card pops out. And yeah, nine of wands. Let something go so that you can let this in. This requires strength. It requires strength to continue moving into the unknown. There is, in a sense, a burning away of what it is that you have come to rely upon about yourself, your masks, habits, beliefs. And there's also this strength in order to stand up kind of against the status quo, really. Um, this embarking on something divinely inspired doesn't always make sense. Um, and it requires a lot of spiritual strength. And so we're coming close to so you have this thing here is going to bring on growth, and also the growth and the work that you have been doing is the thing that brings the divine inspiration into focus. It's this cycle that happens again and again, and sometimes we ignore it and then seemingly nothing happens. But sometimes we say, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do everything it takes. I'm gonna do everything it takes, even if I don't know how to do it. I'm gonna do it. And I don't know how I'm gonna carry this through, but I'm going to. And so sometimes we come to uh, points on our journey where we can go, all right, um, I can stop here. That's good enough. That's good enough. That's good enough. This journey, this inspiration wants you to go and carry it out until you have actually succeeded. And in order to do that, you are going to grow. And the adventure, the journey is going to take you to places unknown. And if they're not physically places unknown, but they might be, um, they're going to be places that are creatively unknown, spiritually unknown, where you might not have known you had the strength in you to pull something off. You're going to pull it off. That's what this is telling you. And if you look at this card, 9 of Wands, 9 of Fire. This is the end of the cycle of fire in the tarot, and the last 3 cards of the cycle, 8, 9, and 10, are represent mutable fire, which is Sagittarius, brought to earth. Okay. Sagittarius is the adventurer. Sagittarius wants to like learn things. You're gonna learn things. Um, you're gonna learn things by following through on this inspiration. Now's the time. I feel like there's something. Oh, the other thing I think is wild is that in modern astrology, a lot of people connect the 9th house with Sagittarius, which is higher learning, which is travel, which is, you know, higher thinking. 9. So whatever this inspiration for manifestation that comes in right now is going to create major growth in your creative self, in your spirit. It's something that is going to grow you in a way you don't yet know. The only way you're going to know is by experiencing it. Very Sagittarian. Have a wonderful week. The solstice is coming up on the 21st. So Might do another, maybe I'll do another draw for that. But at any rate, happy new moon in Sagittarius. Uh, I also feel like, I'm just going to say this, I also feel like this is a lot of Venusian energy coming through, that touch of Venus, as Venus is also moving through Sagittarius. There's this, you know, I always think of Venus as very, it's the beauty in the world that makes us want to live, right? So there's something very beautiful about the Ace of Pentacles, very Taurian. Okay, have a great week. If you'd like to book a reading with me, go to holly-troy.com/tarot. And there's a list of all the different kinds of readings I do. And there's so many ways to contact me on that page. Like, just whenever you click book a reading, it will be a contact form will come up and you can reach out to me and we will get you booked. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful solstice, and I'll speak with you soon. Bye.